Jack had it all: a thriving career, a beautiful family, and a luxurious lifestyle, until he made some poor choices that had hurt those he loved and damaged his relationship with God. Years ago, Jack had been a rising star in the business world. He was ambitious, driven, and willing to do whatever it took to succeed. He had gotten involved in some shady dealings, forging numbers and bending the rules to get ahead. He had convinced himself that it was all worth it, that the ends justified the means. But the consequences of his actions had caught up with him. His business partner had discovered his deceit and had threatened to expose him. Jack had managed to talk his way out of it, but the guilt and shame had lingered. To make matters worse, Jack had also been unfaithful to his wife, Sarah. He had met someone at a conference and had been tempted by her charm and beauty. He had rationalized his behavior, telling himself that it was just a one-time mistake, that it didn't mean anything. But the truth was, he had hurt the person he loved most in the world. After the affair, Jack had hit rock bottom. He had lost his business, his reputation was in tatters, and his relationship with Sarah was on the brink of collapse. But in that dark moment, he had turned to God. He had cried out for mercy and grace, and he had felt a sense of peace wash over him. Jack had spent years rebuilding his life. He had started a new business, one that was built on integrity and honesty. He had been working hard to regain Sarah's trust. He had also become a devout Christian, using his platform to spread the message of God's love and redemption. But despite all the progress he had made, Jack couldn't shake off the weight of his past. He felt like he was paying for the consequences of his actions every day. His business was struggling, and he was constantly fighting to stay on the right path. He felt like he was living under a cloud of guilt and shame, and he didn't know how to escape. One day, Jack received an unexpected visit from Alex, an old acquaintance who had been involved in some of Jack's past dealings. Alex was in trouble, and he needed Jack's help. Jack was hesitant at first, but he felt a sense of obligation to help his old friend. As Jack got pulled back into Alex's world, he began to realize that his past was not just a collection of memories, but a web of consequences that he couldn't escape. He was forced to confront the people he had hurt, the relationships he had damaged, and the reputation he had ruined. Jack met with Alex's business partner, a man named Victor who had been hurt by Jack's deceit. Victor was angry and bitter, and he lashed out at Jack, accusing him of ruining his life. Jack listened, feeling the weight of his past bearing down on him. He apologized profusely, but he knew that words were not enough. He turned to God to soften Victor's heart so that he could forgive him. Jack summoned the courage to meet with Sarah once more time. Sarah was struggling to forgive him for his past infidelity. She was hurt and angry, and she didn't know if she could ever trust him again. Jack listened, feeling the pain and betrayal that he had caused. He apologized sincerely, and he promised to do whatever it took to regain her trust. As Jack navigated the consequences of his past, he felt like he was drowning in guilt and shame. He began to question whether God had truly forgiven him, whether he was worthy of redemption. He felt like he was stuck in a never-ending cycle of pain and regret. But in his darkest moment, Jack turned to God. He cried out for mercy and grace, and he felt a sense of peace wash over him. He understood that he would always carry the scars of his past, but he didn't have to let them define him. Few months later, Sarah returned. She had encountered God and found the grace to forgive Jack. As months went by, their relationship became stronger than ever. Jack's business also picked up. He was glad he didn't give up on doing the right things when he was tempted to return back to his previous shady business lifestyle. With newfound hope, Jack began to rebuild his life once again. He surrounded himself with people who supported and encouraged him, and he learned to trust God's goodness and grace. He knew that he would always struggle with the weight of his past, but he also knew that he was not alone. He had God, and he had the support of those who loved him. And in the end, that was all that mattered.